What's up, Fallible Nation? Welcome to Manly Monday Live. On tonight's show, we are going to answer your questions about helping people you care about that are struggling with addiction, guys. Now, before we get digging into this hard, guys, I want you to know this is all about your questions tonight. This is all about you getting your questions answered. That is what we want to achieve tonight. And guys, if you are joining us, this is what we're going to invite you to do. If you have a question that you just want answered, put a QQ in front of over in the chat. And please, guys, jump into the chat and make sure that you are seen and heard. We love it when you're a part of the show, and it makes the show what we want it to be. Also, whether you're watching on Facebook or YouTube, it doesn't matter. There's a link in the description on whatever you're watching, guys. And there you will find a link to send you to a Google form, guys, where you can submit your question to be asked. So that way you make sure it gets answered. Or if you want to join us live and talk to Rob and I live, guys, there is that option as well. And that way we can send you a link without publishing your email or sharing it. I'm not going to spam you with anything, but if you want to join us live and ask your questions, follow the link down in the description. And that way we make sure and get you invited as well. Plus you can just ask from the comment section, guys. Tonight it's all about it. Now, most of us have experienced the pain of someone we care about struggling with addiction. Maybe you've struggled with that demon in one form or another in your own life. There are many kinds of addictions, but the thing they all have in common is the damage and devastation it leaves in its wake. Broken homes, broken lives, broken people. There are a lot of flavors: drugs, alcohol, tobacco, gambling, sex, porn, gaming, cell phones, social media, and many, many more, guys. And it's crazy because it's gotten worse over the last couple of years. The family and friends see it first are often hurt as bad, if not a lot more, than the person struggling with addiction. Guys, tonight I have for you author, speaker, coach, and podcast host Rob Lohman. He joins us tonight to answer your questions about how you can help the people you care about. My engineer and I didn't talk tonight. How you can help the people you care about who are struggling with addiction. It's a hard place to be, to watch a loved one, a friend, somebody struggle and not know how you can help or what you can do about it, guys. And tonight, that is the game. Rob is going to answer your questions, so let's get into it. All right, guys, tonight I'm so excited to have my new friend, Rob Lohman. Rob and I connected recently, and he's going to be on the podcast in 2023. I'm booked out that far, but I was so excited to meet you, Rob. I had to have you on the show because I think you have a lot to offer my audience, and I am really excited and grateful that you're taking the time to be here tonight.
Heck yeah, I'm excited to be here with you, man. I love your energy. I love what you're doing, and just, man, you're changing lives just by having your show. So thanks for following through and doing what you do.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Now, Rob, I'm not a big intro guy. So what I want to do, because I think you can answer it better than anybody, right? I put some stuff about you in the bio, but tell us a little bit about who you are and what you're doing. And, you just released a book, and I'm excited to talk about that a little bit too, but tell us who you are and what your mission is.
Oh yeah. Well, my mission is to restore hope, identity, and purpose to the addicted. That's where I feel like God's called me to be. And that's where I am. So I'm a guy in long-term recovery, been freed from substances for 21 years, gambling about 3 years, tobacco 20 years. So, I mean, I've had my run for sure. And I just love helping people see their potential and how to move forward in their life.
All right. And Rob, like I said, you just published a book. Congratulations. Called The Intervention. And let's see, I got the title for you down here. For all of you lovely people.
There it is.
You got the longest title in history.
I do. I do. The Addiction Intervention book is pretty straightforward on what it is. But yeah, it was an awesome time on July 8th when we officially launched this. And man, so many people just gravitated towards it. And I'm just excited to spend time with you, answer questions, and just talk to people about how to change their life and break free from, like you said, addiction has many, many faces, right? And it's not just about substances, but like you said, shopping, gambling, porn, sex, intimacy, you name it, caffeine, working out, who knows? But addiction has many faces for sure.
Now I'm seeing Jared has jumped in with us. What's up, Jay? Welcome. Jerry's a regular hanging out with us. We got Common Man OCR jumping in and Miss Katie Powell hopping on. Guys, I'm so excited to have you here tonight, and hopefully we're going to get some of Rob's regulars on tonight too. And guys, if you are a regular follower of Rob and you're jumping on for the first time, welcome to the show. We're excited to have you here. Jump into the chat. Whether you're on Facebook or YouTube, jump in the chat. Let us know you're here. Shout out, ask your questions, because tonight, that is my main focus. That is what Rob is here to do tonight, is to try and answer your questions, because we do all know people who have struggled with an addiction or not. And that might be yourself, or it might be somebody you love. But one of the biggest problems, Rob, I've ever found is how do you see that friend, you see that loved one, and you feel powerless because you don't know how to interact with them in a positive way to make a huge change. So that's what we're going to start off with tonight, is tell me this question. Here's where we'll start. Okay. What are some of the warning signs to look for in a person who is struggling with an addiction, or someone who's just like minorly obsessed with something at the time?
Yeah. And what I like to say to some people hate the word addiction, right? They're like, oh no, I'm not addicted, but are you dependent on something? Let's just use that word sometimes. It draws people in a little more too, right? But a lot of times when people start pulling away is when you can notice a change. Like, I don't want to go to the family reunion, or I'm going to stay home tonight. You guys go ahead and go out to a movie. But they start pulling away from regular activities is definitely one sign. Two is you just start seeing an erratic change in behavior and like energy, emotions. Maybe they're snapping a whole lot with your family members, and they used to not do that. So there's a lot of different signs, but a change in behavior is one real key way you can see if someone's struggling with some sort of dependency on something, like substances, porn, whatever it might be.
Okay. Now, guys, as we progress tonight, I've got some lead-off questions, like I said. But what I really want to do is focus on answering your questions, your thoughts and concerns. We want this to be a service to you. That's why Rob's hanging out tonight. We want to help you, because we don't want you to feel powerless. We want to empower you to take care of yourself and help that loved one in whatever way is possible. So as you have questions, be sure to put them in the comment section, put that QQ around them. That really helps me to see them. And my wife, who's engineering in the background, she will make sure we get those questions first and foremost. They are so much more important than whatever I dawdled up. But yeah.
Hey, but you got some good questions. So it's, like I said, we got to have a starting place, right? But I'm all with you. And, a fair game for anything. I mean, my life's been a crazy journey in itself, but I had to get to the place, and I had so many loved ones that were afraid to speak into that because of why. I'd shut them off, or I'd cut them out of my life, or I would just be offended by their questions. But you got to step in to know that you're doing the best thing you can for your loved one.
Absolutely. Just that powerless, man. And that's one of the things, just as I was prepping for the show, that was one of the things that just resonated in my head, is how many times I felt just powerless when I saw someone struggling with something, because I didn't have the knowledge that I thought I needed to help them, or I didn't know how to approach them. I've dealt with some addictions in my life, minor things to me, but I saw the impact on them and was still far enough, not deep enough in the path that it was such a thing where I didn't go, oh, look, I'm really screwing up here. I need to get my act together. Yeah. But there are so many people, and it starts in that fine line a lot of times, right? We start with, no one jumps into a massive issue like addiction. It starts with the one drink, or, putting the toe in the water. I got my kids a pool, like an above ground pool recently. Yeah. The water is so cold. And I watched my daughters like wade a toe at a time. I'm like, just jump in. But I mean, none of us just jump into those bad habits or those bad choices. We wade in and it's like, oh no, that's cool. And then we adjust a little more. So let me ask you that. This is probably the question that just really was a struggle for me. Like I smoked for years, and I tried to quit, and I tried to quit, and I tried to quit. Can you help someone with an addiction if they aren't ready to change?
Yes, you can. And that's where it's kind of this way of the work I do with interventions. Families always ask that and say, well, they're not ready to change, but we know they need to change. And sometimes it's this simple question of just asking them, are you sick and tired of being sick and tired? And more than likely, people will say yes. Because the interesting thing, Brent, is like when you go to a Christmas party or for work or a family reunion or the neighborhood party, you usually hear people say, well, everybody's drinking. Everybody does it, right? So I may as well do it. Most people, oh, that's fun. My mom's on. My mom says hi. Hey, mom. She knows what I'm talking about.
Mom.
Hey, mom. It's good when your mom taps in, yeah, that was really fun. But when you think about so many people drink because they feel like they have to, when a lot of people don't even want to be drinking or smoking or, I don't know, watching porn with their friends, they're just doing it because they don't want to feel left out. And so that's one of the things I encourage people is try just a crazy thing. Try having a sober party at your house, and you'd be amazed at how many people actually enjoyed it a lot more than the typical neighborhood party where everyone's drinking and passing beers around and Fred's jumping in your pool instead of dipping his toe in. He'd call in, man. So most people don't even want to be doing what they're doing anyway. But the social pressures of our country and society tell you, hey, everyone's drinking or smoking pot. You may as well do it too.
And I want to shout out to Rob's parents, Robert and Nancy. Hey, thank you for joining us. No, you know what? My mom watches my show every week, like clockwork. My mom is actually watching the show with my daughter right now, my oldest daughter. So you know what? That kind of support starts at those levels, right? They're here supporting us if we're talking about this, but that kind of support is instrumental, and it's so important, especially when people who are dealing with addictions, right? You have to that if you can have that familiar support, that's great. If you can have the friend support, that gives you a better chance. So I appreciate that they're here and supporting.
Yeah. I'll say hi to Dad too. Hey, Dad, didn't know you're on. I just saw the mom post, but there was a time. I mean, my parents, they had to pray for me like crazy because they just knew I was off, but they didn't know how off I was. I wasn't operating at my full potential. So if you're a prayer person and you have a loved one struggling, just never stop praying, because you never know when that phone call comes and you're saying, hey, I need help, and you're ready to help them right there. So unconditional love, that's how I would sum up my parents. And it's hard. I mean, you don't know what to do a lot of times, and you're afraid to do something. They might not talk to you again, but you'll be amazed at how many people are just ready to stop. They just don't know how to stop.
I see Shirley's jumping in. Nice to see you, Mom. This is my mother-in-law. This is my wife's mom. Her and her husband love to watch the show, and I appreciate that they take time to do it. See, I have the most amazing familial support. It's awesome. I feel so very blessed on each side of our family. But guys, that is exactly the kind of support you need. That is so, it gives you such a better solution, such a better chance at succeeding with whatever you're facing with. Now, is there a way to break through? You focus on intervention, right? Your book is called Intervention. So help us understand, what is an intervention and what is the right time to intervene?
Yeah, well, I say, like in the book, the addiction intervention book, the way I summarize an intervention is we're bringing the bottom up to your loved one so they don't have to crash and hit bottom. So it's kind of like offering a gift of love to your family member that's struggling with addiction. And so when is the time to get off the elevator and do an intervention? Anytime. Now, but you got to plan and be strategic, because if you show up and just say, hey, Christine or whomever, right? We're here to help you, and we know you want help. Now what do we do? Right? And then there's crickets, and you lose that opportunity of their willingness to get help because there's no plan in place. So a properly put together intervention is strategic on the right kind of treatment plan to make sure it fits the needs of your loved one. And that's the whole key of interventions, is really why I wrote the book, is so people understand there's all different ways to help your loved one. What's the right way? So people will call me sometimes, Brent, and say, I need to get my husband into treatment. He's going to lose his job. Like, he's got to go to treatment today. And I'll back up a little bit and say, okay, I'm just going to listen for a little bit and what's really going on. And sometimes I'll just say something simple and ask them the question of, have you ever asked your loved one if he wants help? And most of the time it's kind of like, well, no, I just know they need help. And they'll say, well, why don't you just ask Fred, Christine, Mike, Bill, whomever it is, if they're willing to have coffee with me. And I've helped a lot of guys and gals get on the right path by just having coffee. But most of the time, they need an intervention. The family needs coaching for the family, and the loved one needs the love and care to go forward and believe that it's not all about them. It's about the family system, because we all got here together some way. So the strategy and interventions, and why I wrote the book, is to help understand the process and what's the right way to help your loved one and the family break the cycles of addiction. Just break the cycles. I mean, imagine that. Breaking the cycle of addiction in your family. How appealing does that sound?
Oh man, that's it's crazy how often that becomes an issue. You know, just thinking about it through my lifetime, how many people became addicts after that, you know, their parent was an addict. And you generally get two different responses, right? You'll have one person who will respond to that and be like, I'm never going to be that. I will never live that life. And then you might have, you know, the brother or the other sibling go, I'm not going to do that. And a couple of years later, they're right on the same path.
Yeah.
It's crazy because you don't think about that, right? And an addict's not thinking about that. They're not thinking about how that's going to roll down through the generations of their family.
Yeah. And part of that too, Brent, you know, the focus, what you were just saying, is people saying, I'm not going to be like that. Right. Mm-hmm. And I relate this a little bit to the idea of when people say they want to get out of debt, and they just say, I want to get out of debt. I want to get out of debt, instead of I want to build wealth. Right. If you build wealth, you naturally get out of debt. If you focus on the things you want to become, you naturally won't become the things you don't want to become. Right. So instead of saying, I don't want to be like my dad or my uncle or my brother, or this isn't my story, my family, but just people say this, right? I don't want to be like them because they're addicts. Well, focus on what do you want to become like, and then go become that, instead of the fear of not becoming the thing you don't want to become. It's a mindset thing.
How do we make that breakthrough? How do we even start that conversation with somebody who may not even realize that they are addicted to something?
Yeah. And here's the progression of addiction. I'm gonna walk people through this. So we start with some use, having a beer or smoking a joint, or I don't know, looking at porn, right? And then we start doing a little bit too much. So then there's kind of this abuse of what we were doing before. And now we have some dependency on it, right? So if you start seeing in your life that it's starting to kind of take over a little bit, it's probably time to consider changing. And how do you get change? You just have to find people that know what they're doing. And that's the whole thing about recovery. I'm all about community. So I'll just say this right now, if you're struggling and watching right now, maybe you're the family member or you are someone struggling with addiction. I'm going to give you a couple of things here. There are tons of free resources all around the country. Okay. For me, I attempted suicide, and then I found the rooms of recovery, and I've never looked back. And what did that cost me? Nothing. Zero. It was free because I had desire to change. So if the desire to change is there, I'll tell you, I have so many resources on my website called liftedfromtherut.com. If you go there and under the resources tab, there's a lot of free resources like AA, SA, NA, Celebrate Recovery, Freedom of Christ Ministries. There are so many tools that you can use to break the cycles of addiction. And whether you have faith or not, wherever you are in all this, there's a starting point somewhere. So it's find the right resources. There are sober recovery groups all over the country you can tap into. You can go to concerts with people in sobriety. You can go to sporting events and music events and all this stuff, but you just got to figure it out where to find them. So you got to find a new, not a new community. Some people hear that and they're like, well, I don't want to get rid of all my friends. Well, sometimes you have to make the decision. Are all of my friends toxic and going to keep me in my addiction? Just bring in some new friends along the way that understand sobriety. So finding the right resources, go to the website, liftedfromtherut.com. And on the resources tab, you can literally go down and find, I think I have like 30 or 40 resources on there that are free to tap into in your local communities. So community is huge. And then I'm a huge fan of coaching and moving people forward. We can talk about that later, but community, I think, is essential in recovery for sure. I mean, look around at your own friends, Brent. You probably know ones that are, good for you and not good for you, right? And we don't kick out the ones that aren't good for us. We love them well, like Jesus would. But we find people that are going to support our new lifestyle. And without that good support, there's so many stories I could tell around that people that take the suggestions of finding the right community and don't take the suggestions of finding the right community. And these guys over here, they stay stuck. The ones over here find freedom and beauty and just a new life to live.
It's amazing. I think as a kid, I probably underestimated the saying of you are the sum of your 5 closest friends.
Yeah.
Now, and I mean, that might be, I'm sure you could argue that one way or another, right? I mean,
yeah,
that's everybody. But, the older I get, the more I see that in my own life, right? The people I surround myself with. That's part of the reason we are growing the Fallible Man community is we want to be a constructive community the men can be a part of to encourage them to reach for their best selves, to reach their full potential. Because I know when I started on my personal development journey, I didn't have any friends talking business or side hustles. I didn't have any friends who knew anything about, picking it up from here, right? So I've had to build a community for myself and for other men as I go. But it has so much impact that we underestimate sometimes. Those people in that circle, and we all have those friends that it's like, I probably shouldn't hang out with you. Right? We don't want to get drugged down into that. But at the same time, we don't want to abandon them either. Right? So Shirley would like to ask, along with your book, what are your favorite books on people skills?
Oh man. Well, I love the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. I mean, that book is incredible. No matter who you are, what walk of life, wherever you live in the whole world. So I love the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People is a huge book. And is there something kind of specific, Shirley, you're thinking about? Is it people skills, just like communication, or life skills? Because there's a whole bunch of different ways that you can go with that. But I'll tell you this: finding a good coach is paramount. We can read all the books in the world we want to. And I did that. And Brent, I read books all the time. I mean, it was just books, knowledge. But knowledge without action is just knowledge, right? So even in my own business, it's Lifted from the Rut, I did my own thing for so long. And surely I thought I had it all together. I thought I had good people skills, communication skills, business skills. But until I hired my own coach that kind of pushed me to the next level, I can tell you this: I wouldn't have written my first book. I wouldn't have started a podcast show. I wouldn't have done these things because people helped move me along. But I always love 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. That's kind of like my go-to book. They have amazing workbooks you can go through and really go through and identify your entire life. When I was incarcerated during a part of my life, I read 42 books in 10 and a half months. 42 books, Brent. I haven't read that many books in my entire life. That's a lot, isn't it? But I have my favorite books like right here. You want to talk about personal development? I love this book by Dr. Neil Anderson called Who I Am in Christ. And you may not be a Christian or believer, but this book helped change my life. And you talk about development and people skills. This opened my book up. Another book by like James Malinchak I love reading. It's called The Millionaire Success Secrets. That gave me a lot of tools on how to be a better businessman. I could go through my whole library over there and just start whipping out books. Another book, if you want to get to know who you are better, is called Known by Dick Foth. So I'm a book guy. I love books, but I used to read these books and it was just knowledge. And until I had a coach that kind of kicked my butt and moved me forward, I mean, my whole business took off. Everything took off for me. And so it's kind of related to people skills, but I was seeking new skills. So I sought out people that had those skills already, and I just did what they told me to do. And it works.
I imagine your space looks a lot like me. There's stacks of books laying around me in various spots. I have to move them when I rearrange my office to do my live stream.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, move this stack over here, move this stack over there. But yeah, communication skills are so important. Thank you for that question, Shirley.
Yeah. And especially, I'll touch on that a little bit too, Shirley, is people that step into recovery, their people skills are off a little bit. You know, there's so much shame and guilt from the past, and some people just stay there, so they get stuck, right? And what I love is when you look at people, we're talking about recovery, right, and addiction and moving forward. When you can look at people as someone that God created for greatness in their life, and substances took over their life, and I mean, imagine coming out of being in prison, or stealing your parents' car and wrecking it, or blowing through your whole family's life savings because of a gambling addiction. Now you have nothing. I mean, imagine the amount of shame that piles on top of people. And the last thing an addict, someone trying to break free from addiction, needs is people saying how much you screwed up, you did it again, you suck, blah, 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 blah. I mean, who wants to get better when they hear that? But if you say things like, man, I believe in you, I believe you have so much potential, and addiction has just gotten in the way. What if we stepped into a world of recovery and helped you live to the full potential that you know is inside of you, but it's just covered up by addiction? So it's all on how you kind of build people up and say that. But yeah, Sarah, I have a whole book list that I can post at some point, or get over to Brent. And I mean, there are books that changed my life. One was Who Moved My Cheese? You ever heard of that book, Brent? Who Moved My Cheese?
I haven't. I'm not familiar with that one.
I mean, when you go read business development books, that, you know, business development books are great. It depends on kind of where you are. And, you know, and speaking of books, I want to figure out a way to kind of like give a couple books away tonight to some people that says, hey man, thanks for tuning in. And I don't know how we want to do that, but it's like, I got
a whole system for that. So you're good. I got a whole system for that. So you're good. If we want to do that, we can absolutely do that tonight.
He's got a system, and that's what works. Systems work. So we're going to use one system on giving away 2 books tonight to people. And I'm all down for that, man. It's it'll take a couple weeks.
Oh, we lost Rob. Uh-oh. Don't worry, guys. Rob will be back. We lost him once already, right before the show started. There he is.
Happened. I don't have all of a sudden my screen said, oh snap, something happened. So but yes, 2 books, give it away tonight. It'll be a couple weeks because they literally just published the paperback book on Amazon yesterday.
All right, Rob, we need to take a short break, and everybody needs to get up and bat dance. Come on, get up. You know you want to. We like to get down with the Batman here. It makes life a little more fun, and it's always good.
That's a cool app.
Everybody loves Batman. Let's see. And it said, Rob gave me a book by Victoria Walker called Choose to Think Daily Devotional.
Yeah, a friend of mine, Victoria Walker, she's like an amazing woman, wrote a beautiful book. And I love to support authors, new authors, big authors. My friend Randy Grimes, who's in recovery, just wrote a real great book called Off Center. What the heck is it called? I have to remember. I gotta go look it up. Sorry, Randy. But he used to be a NFL football player, right? And addiction took over. And it was all from prescription pills that just caused him to be a complete wreck and ruined his entire life. I mean, he's a buddy of mine in recovery now. And what a great story Randy Grimes has with his book called Off center. I got to look that up. But keep going. I got to look it up, Brent, because I don't want to mess up the name of his book. That's not cool.
No, you know what? Honestly, prescription pills are almost stronger and worse than stuff on the streets these days. I mean, there are always going to be some kings out there like heroin and cocaine that just ruin people's lives, but some of the prescription drugs these days are just as bad.
It is, and people don't realize it. His book is called Off Center. Just he used to be a center in the NFL, so it's a great book. And you're right, because I mean, Brent, so many people, they don't mean to get addicted.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, you don't set out to just jump in the pool. You're going to dip your toe in, but eventually your foot goes in. Like, oh, that feels much better, and then the leg, and then you're in the pool, and you're like, that's not cold at all. It's warm.
Mm-hmm.
But the first dip was cold, and that's the progression for a lot of people with prescription pills. And I mean, a friend of mine, Dr. Mel Pohl, wrote a book called A Day in the Life Without Pain. And people get addicted so easily to pain pills. I know a lot of people that have, but you didn't mean to get there. And then the next thing you know, yeah, totally.
Yep. I struggled with it. I got injured years ago when I was in the military and ended up hooked on codeine for a while. It was not a fun ride.
Yeah. What was that progression like for you?
I was taking them as prescribed, but the way they were prescribed on the bottle literally said, take it when it hurts. And I had split a bone in my body at that point in my leg. And so hurt was relative at the moment. And I just was taking them so often along with muscle relaxers and Motrin and several other things put together. And I didn't think I was having a problem. And then I realized after the pain went away, I kept taking them.
Yeah.
And I got a clean bill of health, and I was still taking the codeine. And it's like, no. So thankfully at the time I was in a position where I went, the military has a self-identification policy. And so I went to my first sergeant and just handed him my pills. I said, I need help now. In just a short moment of clarity when that dawning is like, wait, I'm not even in pain anymore, but I'm still swallowing these things left and right. And they had given me so many of them that I had a supply.
Yeah. Yeah. And the interesting thing about that, which people don't know, like you said, you took them as prescribed, but your body tells you you're in more pain and you need them. And your it's tricking you, because the more pills you take, actually the more pain your body gets into, because you start losing the receptors. And, it just messes with your whole entire system. And here's the cool thing. I want to tell you a couple things about the book, Brent, because people need inspiration, right?
Okay.
And so what I did in the addiction intervention book is I interviewed 10 interventionists in the book as well. So it's all their stories, but you read their stories and you're like, holy cow, how did you get that messed up? Right. And it was just a progression of their life. And every single story in here is about a family member or them that just started out smoking pot, drinking beer, taking some pills, and their whole life got wrecked. Now, fortunately, the 10 in here and myself, we turned our life around, and now we help people all over the world, but we're helping people just like us that used to be stuck.
Shirley said, I've taught several others that a mentor-protege relationship is invaluable. I totally agree. When I was younger, a mentor of mine said I need to have 2 to 3 godly mentors in my life. So Shirley agrees entirely. Coach, our mentor, is a very positive relationship for that. And Sarah was kind enough to type that in there for us, everybody. So Off Center, a memoir of addiction, recovery, and redemption by professional football player Randy Grimes. So there's that book, guys. If you're taking notes, and hey, guess what? Watch the video again on the replay, and it's right there if you need it.
Yeah.
And she says the reason I need 1, 2, or 3 is so I wouldn't wear out one. It is, it is trying when you are that person.
Yeah. Well, even as you can tell from my shirt, this is kind of where my faith is based. And even the Bible says, that if you're not around a good group of counselors, meaning good godly people, you're going to fall and fail. And so we need people to pick us up that understand us. And one thing that's real important for people in the recovery community is, and I say this a lot to people, is that it's good you have friends that know a loved one struggling and they'll support you, right? Oh my gosh, I'm really sorry that happened again, or I'm so sorry he got another DUI, and they're just there to console you. But when you're in a group of people, in a community, people that really understand you, they will help move you forward and learn healthy boundaries and how to help yourself grow, whether your loved one gets help or not. Because eventually the loved one will get help because you set healthy boundaries with people. And I have to really educate the family a lot. And logically, it doesn't make sense, right? But if I do this, if I stop paying for his groceries, he won't eat. Well, yeah, but all the money you spend paying for their groceries gives them money they can go spend on drugs and alcohol. So at some point, we have to find this balance of not, and I don't like the word enabling. It's all codependent behaviors. I mean, people are doing the best they can to keep their loved one alive. So there's no shame in that at all. But unless we learn new tools, change just can't happen. And community is a huge, I said, this is like the 5th time I said that. Counseling, community, and coaching are just huge opportunities for people. And that's why I put together this trifecta of recovery course to help people really understand the blessing of all 3 of those things. And it's just a great way to help people understand we got to take care of the 3 legs of the stool, or we're going to fall over and be imbalanced.
That actually leads into one of the big questions I had for you was, how do I support this person I care about without enabling them?
How do you support them without enabling them?
Yes. I want to help them. I want to take care of them. I want to help them get through this, but I also don't want to accidentally enable them.
Right. So there's a phrase I use. It's called, I will, honey, we'll just call it person honey, right? Honey, I will gladly support you in your recovery, but I cannot support you in your addiction anymore. And here's what that means going forward, right? And it's you looking at, and what I hear you encourage people to do is get out a piece of paper and write down all the ways that you support your loved one struggling from addiction. Just get out a piece of paper and write it down and say, well, I pay their rent, I pay their car payment, I pay their insurance, and just write it all down, okay? And then total it up and see how much money are you spending a month helping protect or save your loved one because of their addiction. And it is staggering sometimes with the numbers. I had one family, they were at $11,000 a month supporting their loved one so their loved one wouldn't hurt themselves with the addiction. And when you look at that and you're able to break that down and say, okay, we need to have a conversation with our loved one and say, I'm going to 100% support you if you're willing to get sober and go to treatment and get help. But if you aren't, I can't keep doing this. Like, I'm basically working to save you. And that's not helping at all. So if you, and here's a great example of a family I was helping before, okay, is their loved one had full use of a credit card. Like just whatever they spent it on, gas, food, going to Applebee's, whatever. And I was able to kind of look that over for the family and see how much money was being spent a month. And when we looked at that, it was like, your loved one's not spending $100 on lunch at Applebee's eating food, right? And so what we did was we made change in the life, and it was in a loving way, but it was said, hey, I can't keep doing this. I'm just working to pay this credit card off. I will help you with a gas card. I work with families a lot like this. I'll give you money for gas, but that's it. And then what does the loved one have to do? If they want to keep doing the things they were doing, they got to find money somewhere. And it's going to be one of 2 ways. They'll go get a job or have the consequences of stealing or all those things, and they get in trouble. And unfortunately, that's a consequence of the behavior. So at some point, you got to take your hands off the wheel.
Mm-hmm.
And this is hard to say because then people say, well, if I do that, and this is a hard one, and they go kill themselves, it's my fault. If I do that and they get arrested and go to jail, it's my fault. It's really not. We think we have control over people But the bottom line is we are all responsible for our behavior. And that could lead to jail. That could lead to losing a house or a mortgage. And the consequences totally stink sometimes. But in a healthy way, you can start making little changes, bring about change for your loved one. And it's very effective and scary, but it works.
All right, guys. I want you to light up the chat section. Okay. Wherever you're watching, light up the chat section with #book. #book. We got some more questions, but I love giving away things. And hey, I'm giving away Rob's stuff, so that's even better. I'm not giving away the stuff I'm paying for. That's great. I love it. But I love to give away things on my live stream just because that's the person I am. I love to give away stuff.
And I'll mail it to him signed by myself, and I'll mail it straight to him. If I don't know how you do your stuff, I don't want to step on your toes, but
no, you're fine, bro.
Do that too.
We will hook them up.
All
so
right,
cool. #book. If you would like a copy of Rob's new book, Intervention, #book right now in the comments, and Rob will sign it and send it. You're going to have another chance. This is not your only chance to win tonight, but if you want a copy of this book, #book right now, put it in the comment section. What we will do is we will draw, and then we're going to take a couple more questions. So guys, also, if you have questions, put them in the comment section. Let us know. QQ. I also have a link below wherever you're watching this video, whether you're on Facebook or YouTube. And if you want to come on live, I will send you a link and you can come talk to Rob in person. That is a possibility as well. Because you know what? This is all about you guys and getting your questions answered. That is what is important to Rob and I tonight. So, Rob, what we're going to do is we're going to have ourselves a little giveaway.
All right.
I have this lovely tool.
Can't wait to see this. I love giveaways. I love giving giveaways, and I love.
All right. So StreamYard has this beautiful tool just for this. So we're going to put in #book, guys. This is your first chance. It will not be the last chance, but this is your first chance. So if you don't win this time, you can enter again on the next giveaway. But let's give some stuff away. #book right now. 3, 2, 1. We got 3 entries. Let's do it. Congratulations, Jared. My man Jared down in Portland. We are going to hook you up. And Rob, I can send you an address for Jared.
Sweet.
He's won stuff before. But congratulations to Jared Holmgren. He's won a copy of Rob's brand new book, guys. It just came out this weekend, and it is already on top of the bestseller list in multiple categories of book. So we're going to hook you up, Jared. Congratulations on that. And hey, don't give up. We're going to give another copy. Hey, Twisted Designer just jumped in. Great to see you, brother. I'm glad you're here tonight, Tim. He's just jumped in, so he's going to win on the next one, I'm sure, because Tim just likes to win stuff.
There you go, Tim.
We'll see. But we will hook you guys up, and we're going to get into a couple more questions. Like I said, if you have questions, we want to get you answers tonight. That's why he's here. So let us know in the comment section. Now, Rob, one of the things I always see, and this is the worst example ever, right? On television, all the time in the movies, right? You always see these really dramatic ultimatums to break through to my loved one, to break through this person, we'll call him honey, that I care about, whatever. Do I have to be drastic? Do I have to give ultimatums and such to get my addict's attention? Whether it's, and remember, we're talking everything, right? We're not just talking about drugs and alcohol, whatever it is, right? This person has hit that line. Do I have to get drastic and give ultimatums to get through to them?
No, there are certain situations, yes, but for the most part, no. And one of the first trainings I went through, Brent, when I was trained to be an interventionist, it was this idea of, well, you can either leave the house in a trash bag or you can leave the house in a suitcase. But one where, no, you're getting out of the house today. We're changing the locks. And it was I'm like, man, that just doesn't work for me. That's not my style. And that's one of the reasons, Brent, why I wrote that book, the addiction intervention book, is because there are multiple ways to help your loved one break the cycle of addiction. And it's not, get out of my house and don't ever want to see you again. But people do that sometimes. And I just know there's a more loving way to do that.
Okay. I mean, that's always what we see. That's one of the things that irritates me sometimes about like television and movies, right? Because subtlety doesn't always sell, right? We always got to get the drama.
Yeah.
And it really is a negative influence on us as far as how we handle some of these real life situations, because there are a lot of people who don't have that point of reference of how to actually deal with the situation other than what they read in a book or more likely saw on TV. And so I wanted to be sure and ask that, because that's what you see. Do it or I'm leaving.
Yeah.
Right?
And I'll tell you, the range of the interventions I've done with helping thousands of families is from, I remember one just walking in and asking the mother and just said, aren't you just sick and tired of being sick and tired? And literally she just started bawling and she's like, I want to go get help. And she was ready, right? Just ready, to the point of doing an intervention outside of an apartment door and getting swung at and spit at by the sun, and just like all the neighbors are out watching. I mean, it was like crazy. And then the cops had to come and take him to a 72-hour hold to be held in a psych hospital because of how he flipped out. And I mean, it is all from the simple thing of like, don't you just want help, to I'm so stoic and I'm so tough and I'm going to flip you the bird and I'm going to spit and swing at you. And I was just like, I remember the dad goes, do you want me to call the cops? I said, no, he's just pissed. Let's just see how it goes. I mean, he's feeling attacked right now. Right. And you see on the show, right, is always the surprise intervention. I mean, they know something's coming because they're on a reality TV show,
right?
But they walk into the room and it's like, oh gosh, I can't believe you all are here. And then that part, right? And there's a time for that, but there's also an invitational intervention where you can just invite them in, say, hey, we care about you. We don't know how to help you, but this guy Rob does, and his team. And so that's, again, another reason why I wrote the book, is because people need to understand there are multiple ways to help people. And it's not get out, we're done with you, peace out.
Twisted Designer said, I was 20 minutes late, but great stuff so far. I'm loving it. Twisted Designer is one of our longtime supporters, so glad he made it tonight. Now, Rob, I always have to think about how I ask the questions to make sure I'm asking what I'm trying to get across here. How do we go about setting healthy boundaries, right? Because you have ranges of addiction. And so how do we go about setting healthy boundaries to protect us without alienating them necessarily?
Yeah. Well, one of the parts is we have to, I'm going to speak for the family member just right now to set those healthy boundaries, is you have to look at yourself and figure out, why are you doing the things you're doing? Because a lot of times we don't even know. It comes from our own past. You know, it comes from things in our past of abandonment issues. I don't want to feel abandoned, so I don't want my loved one to feel abandoned. So I believe a lot of it starts with counseling to understand yourself, because if the main goal through this whole process is for everyone to get healthy. Mm-hmm. So whether your loved one goes and gets help or not, or agrees to, it's so important for you, the family member, the wife, the husband, the child, the grandparent, the employer, to go get healthy in the relationship. And you have to do that by getting professional help a lot of times. And so some of it starts with doing your own personal inventory of like, why am I afraid to put healthy boundaries in? Oh, because when I was a kid, my dad imposed these healthy boundaries and it was horrible. And I don't want that to happen to my kid. So a lot of the way we act and behave is because of our past. And if we don't understand our past, then we can't move forward in our life. So I'm a big fan of counseling as one place. Supportive communities, another place, to have like-minded people around you. And those two things will help you change, which eventually will help your loved one change. Maybe not immediately, but 3 months, 2 weeks, a month down the road. Because, you know, hurt people hurt people. Healthy people help people. And Al-Anon, yep, my mom puts Al-Anon down there. I mean, things like, again, support groups for the addiction that's happening in your loved one's life. I mean, there's hard things when people deal with sex and porn addiction and they've had affairs, and the relationship part like that is really hard to break free from. So finding partner support programs is huge. I know a lot of partner support specialists. So I know people in all different kind of industries and fields to direct people towards. And a great place, Brent, for people to find help is Psychology Today is a great place.
Mm-hmm.
And you can filter that thing down to the last thing of like, what kind of insurance do I have? What kind of struggles am I having? Do I want a male or female? Do I want Christian or Buddhist or whatever? And you can drill down that psychologytoday.com to find the exact type person that you feel like you need. And you go get some help yourself. Whether your loved one gets help or not, you will get healthier.
Rob, how do we breach that conversation? So we're talking about our loved ones here and how we can help them. How do we breach that conversation about seeking help or seeking rehab for whatever they're struggling with when maybe they don't even realize that they need it?
Yeah, well, the good thing is, so when I got sober 21 years ago, it was basically like AA, right? I didn't even know treatment centers existed. Now, today, and the year that we're doing this in 2022, there's so many different outlets for people to get the help. So it's part of it is just addressing the fear of like, what would happen if I got healthy, and kind of dream a little bit creates an environment which doesn't seem possible for most people. It's like, I can't dream at all. I mean, look at my life. It's so chaotic and crazy right now. Like, there's no hope. So finding a little bit of glimmer of hope is, I guess, a starting point. And I will say it is scary to step into change, but if nothing changes, then nothing's going to change. And sometimes you just have to accept that. I'm not going to change. They're not going to change. This is my plight. I guess I'm going to live this way for the rest of my life. And how hopeless does that sound? Pretty hopeless. So I think hope's a big thing for people, and just believing that other people have gone before you and changed their life. And you can do it too. You just got to step into a new way of life and new resources. I don't know if that answered your question. Hopefully it did.
I think so, in a roundabout way.
Yeah.
It's a hard conversation, right? Having to try and breach the conversation of, hey, I think you need help. I want to help you get there. We need to talk about rehab maybe with someone who they don't necessarily even understand that they need help.
Yeah. I don't think I really answered your question, so I'll answer it now. So there's a lot of different ways to get help. So some people just think it's going to rehab, right? I can't go for 28 days because I have a job and a dog and a mortgage and a car payment, all this stuff, right? Mm-hmm. So let me give people maybe a progression of what does the treatment process look like. So for a lot of people, it starts with detox. Now, two things you need to make sure you just don't quit cold turkey are benzodiazepines. And if you're taking benzos, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Don't need to explain it to you. And alcohol. And if your body is dependent on alcohol and you just stop it all of a sudden, I mean, you could die from those two things from the withdrawal. Okay, so getting professionally detoxed, I always recommend. If you have insurance, it makes it a lot easier. Then the next step for a lot of people is residential treatment. You go away to inpatient, you do the 30, 60, 90-day thing, right? But finding a place that will address your exact issue. I mean, if you have sexual trauma and you go to treatment and you never talk about the sexual trauma to your therapist, how do you expect to get free from that? Right? So get it all out on the table. And then there's this thing called partial hospitalization, which is not residential, but it's you live somewhere else and you go into treatment for 8 or 9 hours a day. Then there's IOP, which is intensive outpatient, which you live at home and you go like 3 or 5 days a week. And then there's outpatient, there's sober living, there's like Christian retreats, there's spiritual things people do called sozos or Freedom in Christ Ministries, I walk a lot of people through the steps to freedom in Christ. So there's multiple different ways. And sometimes, Brent, I mean, people can't go to residential treatment because they just can't because of their job or their lifestyle. Because if most people have been somewhere for a year or longer, they can typically get protected by Family Medical Leave Act because you have a disease, like cancer, right? It's a disease and you have to go get help and treatment. So there are ways to kind of look at protecting your job, depending on what state you live in and stuff like that. But sometimes outpatient is the best option so you can continue to do your life. Like, again, I tried to kill myself with a barbell 21 years ago in a drunken stupor. That was my suicide attempt. And I found AA the next day and I went to recovery and I haven't had a drink since. Again, that was free. That was my desperation, right? But if you don't, here's what other thing I'll say is that a lot of treatment programs will gladly take your money because you need help, but it may not be the right thing for you. So those are things I can help people with, is just to navigate that world. Because again, you call a treatment center and say, I need help. Like, oh, we'll take you. Cash pay, $30,000 a month. Perfect. No problem. Well, come on in. Yeah. But you may not be the right fit for them or fit the milieu. So getting professional help is, in my opinion, really important to navigate a world people don't know much about.
Cassie says, there's not many rehabs around us. So who do you talk to? Like your doctor?
Cassie, what part of the country are you in? I'm curious. Because here's the thing. In Washington?
She's in Central Washington around me.
Okay. So here's what I'll tell you. You can actually go on. I always mess the website up. Hold on. I'm going to type it in real quick. Just give me a second. Because I always get the letters. Okay. So if you go to SAMHSA, so it's SAMHSA.gov, Gov. That's something you can find treatment all over the country. You can drill it down to inpatient, Medicaid. I mean, you can get so specific. That's probably the best website out there. I have a treatment resource guide on my page. It's not as extensive as the one I just told you about. So if you don't have anything in your area, go there, put in your state, put in issues you're struggling with, and you will find something in your area. So that's huge. Pass that on to as many people as you know.
Excellent. That's on screen, guys. Cassie also asked question, how do you convince somebody to seek help?
Well, it's hard to convince someone to seek help. I like to use the word persuade, right? So we talk about the relationship you have with the person. And again, if you start putting up healthy boundaries and learn those, eventually the relationship's going to change, as in maybe your friend, like I had a mom whose son used to pass out and she'd run over there every single time and take him to the ER. Until one day she said, you can get your own self to the ER. And it was like, what? But come get me. He's like, no, the ER is 2 blocks down. Get your butt there yourself. And it changed their whole dynamic as a couple. I mean, not a couple. Sorry. It was a mother and a son. So they're not a couple. But that changed their whole dynamic. So convincing someone to seek help is learning healthy boundaries and just saying, look, buddy, I love you so much, but I'm exhausted and I'm scared for you. And I don't know how to help you. I found some people that do. Are you willing to go check it out? At least I'm not saying to commit, but just go check it out and see what you like about it. Don't say what you think about it. Ask them what they like about it, because then they're focused on the liking part of the program. So that's one way, is to find local resources and draw some boundaries. Say, hey, look, if you call me and you're drunk again, I'm hanging up the phone. I'm really sorry, but I can't do this because I care about myself enough that now one of two things can happen, Cassie, is they will realize the change and maybe change themselves, or they might cut you off. and those are the hard things about boundaries, but you are not responsible for their behavior. They are. And it's a hard line to do, but convincing someone is learning how to present it in an articulate way where they're like, wow. And find them in the sober spot. Don't talk to them when they're drunk, but find them in that spot just saying, hey, man, I love you so much. Hey, can you just like back off the booze for a little bit so we can have a good conversation? Because I can't keep doing this. And then you got to hold the boundary. Because what's going to happen is we say that, and then they do it, and then we run to them again like before, and they know you're not serious. So, but again, Cassie, it's hard, but it's worth it. It's worth it for you because you're worth more than being drugged down, in a sense, from someone's addiction. And the more you make healthy boundaries, that person's going to see it, and hopefully they're going to want to maintain that relationship with you because you're changing. They might want to change. There's no easy answer to these. I wish there were. It's like, how do you get a good oil change in your car? Well, there's a really easy way to do that. Or, right, how do you give a free book away? Well, you have a system for that. Addiction is messy. So is recovery. But one thing that might help, Cassie, is find your own supportive community where you live, and try an Al-Anon meeting. Try a Celebrate Recovery meeting if you're a Christian and have faith. Find your support group locally, and that will help you help your friend that's struggling with the addiction.
Twisted Designer says, have you ever had to heard about convincing employers to follow through with those acts like in laws? If I can speak clearly, those acts and laws like the Family Leave Act for someone to go see that, as opposed to employers letting people off instead of letting people off. I'm sorry if I butchered that.
Yeah, I see where you're going. I mean, employers' things are hard. I mean, when I lost my job after my addiction, I was never given any kind of options of help. It was just kind of like, you're done. Well, I guess I kind of deserve that. But sitting down with employers is something I do, often, is just talk to them about, I'll ask them the questions. What are your policies for people that struggle with addiction? And most people don't have anything. It's not like a strike 1, 2, and 3, you're out. We don't have anything. Because if you talk to an employer, it's a lot less expensive to fire someone and hire a new person and train them than it is to say, hey, man, hey, Twisted Designer, you're an amazing employee. We'd hate to lose you. We want to give you some options, right? It's like, go to treatment, get help, and here's what we're going to do for you. But if you can't do that, we're going to have to let you go. And because a lot of states are at will employment. Just let you go because they want to let you go. And most employees don't know how to fight that. I'm not an attorney, I'm not giving any legal advice, but FMLA is a formal process you can go through your HR department, or a lot of companies will have, it just totally left my brain. Services for employees that are struggling with life issues. What's the term, Brent? I'm dropping it. It's not EPA. It's going to come back to me, but a lot of companies have a program you can just call without HR even knowing about it if you need counseling help and get that help behind the scenes without HR even knowing about it. And I'm sorry it's spacing my brain right now, but a lot of companies, if they're big enough, will have that, like 50 or more employees usually.
Mm-hmm. I don't remember what it's called. I know it exists in some companies, but it's generally much, much larger companies to get into that.
Yeah, it's sometimes you have those brain farts, and I just had one. So sorry about that, guys. But if it comes back, I'll go put it in the chat.
I do know with like FMLA leave, a lot of times you can actually like in-run your boss on that, because a lot of times your boss is the block point on FMLA. And so I know with a lot of companies, you can actually call HR directly and in-run your boss if you think your boss isn't going to work with you on it.
Oh yeah, totally.
I know some people who have done that, not with this, but with other issues where, I mean, they bypassed the whole system, went straight to HR, went straight to the state simultaneously, filed for FMLA, and just basically told the boss is like, yo, I'll see you in a month.
Yeah. In some treatment centers, they will help you navigate those waters, even if you're in a court situation. So again, finding it, if you're in a court situation, you have this choice of going to jail or going to treatment. Some treatment centers and their case management will help you with those situations and even help you fill out FMLA paperwork while you're in the treatment center. So when you find a good facility, and if that's your situation, then like as an interventionist, I'll help set all that stuff up because I know the situation. I'll say, hey, look, we need FMLA paperwork set up and we got court situation going on. And sometimes it's kind of like asking forgiveness instead of permission, but you got to do it the right way because there are recourses for some things. But going through the intervention process, like what I do is I interview every family member that's a part of it. I ask all the questions I can, just listening for answers. And then we're able to put together this whole big plan of helping people find the right place so they can get healthy and not have to do this kind of junk again. It's like people call me sometimes and say, we're going to go to the 9th treatment center. We've already spent $250,000. We're ready to take another mortgage out. I'm like, whoa, your loved one could probably run a treatment center at this point. It's not working. Let's look at a different option that makes more sense. And for people that have no money, like $0, nothing, there's a great group out there. I'm going to give you the name. You can go look it up. It's called 10,000 Beds. So 10,000 Beds. I think they're out of Utah, but you can go actually apply on their website for treatment scholarships or Salvation Army or, Habilitat in Hawaii is a program out there. I mean, just knowing all these programs is an asset to using a professional to help you navigate the waters. Because if you don't, you just don't know where to look. But it takes a while to learn all this stuff. But again, that website you put up earlier, the government website, is a great place. And you can just put all your parameters in there. And so find resources, look into them, whether you're the loved one or the family member, they're out there. There's free stuff out there to help you. Or if you want to pay $65,000 a month and go to a plush place and you got the money, do it.
For all of us movie stars, it's just beautiful, right? For all of us pretty movie stars.
Oh man!
Now, before we jump to the next question, guys, let me be really clear here. A lot of times we talk about addiction in the context of alcohol or drugs, and so when we're talking about how to recover, how to work through those issues, how to get help for it is not strictly just alcohol and drugs that have these resources. Okay. I actually had a friend who went to a in-house 30-day pornography recovery center. So a lot of times we limit ourselves because we put it in that context, right? When we think of rehab or some kind of recovery or some kind of help house, it's not limited. There are so many addictions, especially after the last couple of years, guys. The statistics, and we all know I love statistics, have just been astronomical in the rise of people struggling with gambling, with pornography, with social media addiction. It is a legit thing. I've had Dr. Christian Heim on, and he's talked about it. He's put out some great videos on that. These are real things. So when you're looking at how to help someone you love, how to help someone who's close to you, we're not just talking about alcohol and drugs. There are rehab help or recovery help or support group help for all of these various things you can be addicted to.
Yeah. Talking about the porn thing and the sex thing there's 2-week intensives around the country that people do. There's, again, whatever that struggle is, there's a resource for you. You just got to know how to find it.
Twist Designer said he's known quite a few people who have struggled with some of these scenarios where the employer was not as willing to work with it. So he's going to take some notes here. Cassie would like to know, at what point do you give up?
I want to say, I don't think we ever give up on somebody. It just changes how we interact with them. Right. Because and that's the healthy boundary part. At what point do you give up? It's when it's unhealthy for you. And that's a conversation you just gotta, if your loved one's not responding via phone call or text or email or something, just send a message and say, look, I can't do this anymore. Please, here's a resource. Call it for help. Give them the SAMHSA website. Say, when you get healthy and you're in recovery, call me. But for now, I just can't participate in the addiction because I am getting sick. Right? How many times is a loved one sick because you're stressed, you're not sleeping, your health is going down. It's you have to look at yourself and say, this is killing me. Because sometimes loved one can be addicted to the addiction of their loved one, right? You're addicted to the person. So when they get healthy, that whole relationship changes. And if you don't get healthy in the same respect, it's not going to work out. So I don't want to ever say, I don't encourage anyone to ever give up on someone. Just learn healthier boundaries on how to love them in their life, but not participate in their addictive behaviors.
Let me throw in my 2 cents here. If you also have to weigh who else is being impacted, right? If this is in like a relationship, if you have children who are being negatively impacted, that's another piece you're going to have to contemplate. You may be able to weather the storm a little bit longer than you can safely allow a child to do so. So, you have a lot weighing on you in making these kind of decisions.
Yeah. I just talked to a guy at a conference and he was telling me about his whole addiction story, and we had a great conversation, right? And what he told me was he was so pissed at his now ex-wife because he worked so hard to build up this money that he had saved, right? For retirement and live a life of retirement. Pretty common, right? Work hard, retire, live life later. I'm all about live life now and whatever. But his wife had blown all the money, opened credit cards in his name, and just ruined his credit and spent all of his money. And he divorced her because she just wouldn't change. Interestingly enough, after he went through counseling and stuff like that, said the reason he divorced her is because he's a penny pincher. Like, he learned so much about himself after the divorce. He's like, man, if I would have known this before I got divorced, I probably could have saved the marriage, because I was blaming her for everything. When he turned out he had his own issues around that he learned and grew, and now he teaches his kids and teaches a bunch of financial stuff and uses that for good. But sometimes we just don't know what's going on. And it's a lot of times about us, it's about them, but it boils down to us. And this sounds weird, but we as people allow other people to hurt us because we don't have healthy boundaries. If we put up healthy boundaries and we, at least for me and my perspective, like, I believe who God says I am. And if anything comes against that, it's not true. So finding out who you really are, whoever you are, on what side of the coin of addiction, if you can really figure out who you are and who God says you are and live out of that, then you can impact so many more people in a healthy way and not be taken advantage of.
Twisted Designer said a lot of treatment centers treat people like numbers rather than people. Are there any in Washington in particular that you would know of that you could suggest that are better?
I do not know that answer, but those are things I will find out with you. So however, if you want to connect the two of us somehow, Brent, or whatever, I will gladly research that and reach out to my colleagues, because I'm a part of some pretty big networks. I just have not done much work in Washington at all. So
okay. Yeah. And Twisted Designer, we'll hook up, and I'll hook you up with Rob, and you guys can work that through. Yeah. Like I said, we want to get your answers taken care of tonight, guys. I am loving the questions. If you got any more questions that you want answered, we're going to start wrapping this up. Please put them in the comments now. And while you're taking one last shot at this, let's do another drawing.
Yeah.
All right, guys. #book in the comments. If you want another shot at winning Rob's book signed, put #book in the comments right now to enter in the drawing, guys. Let's get another one of these off to somebody today. #book. And if you already put it in there, go ahead and put it there again, because the drawing tool likes to see fresh entries it's a little weird like that. It's not perfect, but it works. So hashtag book. Shirley wants a book. Cassie, I know, is wanting a book. You gonna enter in, Cassie? Or we're gonna make this easy. Tim, do you want a book tonight? Hashtag book, guys. Tell you, winning stuff on my show is super easy because I only ever get like 2 or 3 people who enter, and it's easy as putting hashtag something on there. So hashtag book, and we will do a drawing for Rob's second book. Guys, this is brand new, and you know what? You can keep this for yourself. You can read it and share it with a friend. That may be even better, or you can give it to somebody you know who needs it. But guys, we want to hook you up, and Rob is being generous tonight. Everybody is quiet all of a sudden. How did this happen? Jared already won a book. Shirley may be the only one who's going to win this book. I don't know. Hashtag book. Everybody's away from their keyboards and listening to us online or something.
Doing something, yeah. They're on the treadmill running too fast, and they can't text. I'll text in to win a copy.
Rob's going to win his own book.
Yeah,
there it is. Hashtag book. Going once. Oh, I got to select things here. Well, add to the stream. You know it's time, guys. Oh, Sarah's going to run for the book. Tim, hashtag book if you want to win Rob's book. Jump in there, brother.
I got to get this tool for my StreamYard, man. This thing's sweet.
It comes with it, man. It's part of it.
I got to find it. That's cool.
I'll send you the link after the show.
Right.
Hashtag book. Guys, you got about 10 seconds. Hashtag book. It's so easy to win stuff on my show. I give stuff away all the time, and people are like, I don't want anything. Like 2 people entered the drawing. Hashtag book. Get Rob's brand new book released this last weekend, and you too can share that with somebody or read it yourself. Going once. Going twice. Ooh, we got 5 entries so far. 6 entries. Here we go. And 3, 2, 1.
Hey!
Congratulations, Tim. I told you.
You did.
He's got the best book, man. I did not rig it. I swear. Tim's got amazing luck. It's incredible. Congratulations, Tim. We will hook up with you and get an address for him to ship that to you too. You can text it to me or whatever you want. You know how to get a hold of me. Congratulations. That's awesome. Guys, I don't see any more questions going on. Let me check the list. Rob, walk us out. Do you got anything else you want to share with this today?
I just want to encourage anyone, again, whether you're the family member or the loved one, is you got to start with reaching out. So just make a phone call, ask for some help, find the right resources, because if nothing changes, nothing's going to change. And there's hope out there because I see it all the time. So if you want to restore your hope, identity, and purpose, and change, find change, it's going to be amazing. Want to restore your hope, identity, and purpose, and change, find change, it's going to be amazing. Want to restore your hope, identity, and purpose.
What in the world? Oh, sorry about that loop. I clicked the wrong button.
I was like, hey, I don't mind hearing my voice, but I was am I going crazy or what's going on?
No, that's a technical difficulty on my end. Twist Designer says it's not appearing. You posted. Is that another question, Tim? I'm seeing you now, but I'm not seeing whatever question you asked. Try typing it in again or text me. Either way. And Rob, if you don't mind, we'll wait and get this question. I want to get as many of these as possible.
Yeah, let's do it.
Oh, you did the hashtag? No, you won, brother. You won. So Tim, you won. Congratulations.
Way to go, Tim. I love it.
Apparently there's some lag on his end. Shirley says, have you read a book, A Better Way to Live by Og Mandino?
I have not. I think I should, according to the question.
It's an excellent read, yes. It's been around for a long time, but it is an excellent, excellent book.
Okay. Oh, nice. Is Og Mandino, is this person still alive? That's the question. May have to reach out to him to have a guest on the podcast show after I have you on, Brent.
I do not know if he is still alive. I know the book is older.
All right. Random question, but that's okay. Well, not terribly important.
All right. Now for all of our winners tonight, I will sync up with you guys and make sure and get Rob connected with you. Rob, thank you so much for taking the time to be on the show. Thank you for hanging out with us. And guys, as always, be better tomorrow because of what you do today. We'll see you on the next one.